the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I'm your host, Jason Dietz. Joined with me is your other host,
Brian Hudson.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I am forced to watch big blockbuster movies that I have thus far refused to watch because I didn't think they were worth my time. We're currently going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as you are well aware, I assume, at this point. We're two high school English teachers who also teach film and philosophy and creativity courses. We have graduate degrees, and we use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, the philosophy, film studies, and ethics in our films, and push our listeners to think critically about their entertainment. Welcome back to part 2 of Infinity War.
Yeah. If in part 1 we somehow only got through all the positives. What do I mean somehow? There's so many positives it took an hour.
I guess. No, that's true. There are. This is an enormously powerful movie. I feel like I was very fair.
You were
to
so
this movie.
fair. I was shocked at how much you were saying you were.
It was like I said, an emotionally powerful movie.
Those are the things I liked.
Yeah, I liked them too. You just are apparently blinded by the emotional power so much so that you cannot see the logical issues.
Once again, I'm glad you said logic. Oh, I just have that word in a document that I'll be reading later on.
In part 2, we're going to go through the cons, the negatives, and our things that you've come to know and love, the philosophy, the film studies, the ethics, and the dessert of the real here in part 2. Yeah.
So should we start with my negatives?
Oh, you have some?
There's a lot. They're probably a lot faster to get through than yours.
Oh, well, by all means.
This movie just forgets about everyday citizens, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I don't feel like it could have not, though.
Yeah, time-wise.
You got 30, 40, characters we already know. There's just not space.
There's not time, but the scene where Wanda and Vision are they're off by themselves at the beginning and they get attacked. It's just like an empty city,
Oh, that's true, huh?
And I'm like, yeah, where are the people?
Like the only time we see normal people is they're dying.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanos did something.
My nitpick, which drives me crazy, and this doesn't detract a score, it's just something that bothers me, is when Winter Soldier, when Bucky picks up Rocket, and he's shooting in one hand, holding Rocket in the other hand, they're spinning around. Sure, it's kind of cool, looks fun, but they don't know each other.
Right.
Why is he going to pick up this raccoon with the gun? Just because we like both of these guys doesn't mean that they're going to like each other,
Yeah,
I was like, that was just fan service. The biggest thing I don't like is actually how it seems to step back from Thor Ragnarok. Like, for example, I think they should have had Thor keep his patch.
I agree.
Why give him a new eye? That seems undo what we just did.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And the other thing is, he just learned he's not the god of hammers. And the first thing he does, let's give him a hammer.
Good. Thank you. Yes, I agree with both of those things.
Okay. So even though I don't like that, the one thing that makes it fine to me is that this hammer, or it's an axe, I guess, but literally the 6 Infinity Stones can't even stop this thing. So that, to me, makes up for that whole aspect. Yeah. Besides that, I'm a happy customer here. All these characters doing all these things and all of it. But, yeah.
Because you're a pathos guy.
Yeah, I am.
You am.
Team?
So like I said, team pathos.
Pathos, baby.
I had a long list that I've realized I needed to condense.
Why?
So I found ways to put my issues into 3 general categories. So, general unclearness is my first one. That was just kind of the catch-all after I got done with all the other ones. So, my 3 main categories are ill-defined powers.
Sure.
Asinine decisions.
I can't wait to dissect that one.
And petty arguments which detract from the emotional power of the movie. So I'm going to start with that last one because in last week's episode, you were all about Iron Man and all of his, funny, jokey, whatever the crap stuff you think is great. Uh-huh. And I think it's fine and I think it's funny. This is not a movie that has room for it, in my opinion. And so every single time he opened his mouth and some snarky thing came out, I was like, read the room. Like this is a like I said in the last episode, this is a weighty movie, gravitas. Yeah. And so Iron Man, to me, even if I didn't already have all of my issues with him, does not fit in this movie. His personality does not fit here. Because everyone else understands the weight of what's going on. And he's just making all of these stupid, petty, jokes and power plays that just make him look like an a-hole, honestly, in my opinion. So we got him verbally sparring with Doctor Strange. Is it funny? Sure. But I feel like it dramatically detracts from the power of the movie. He does it with Spider-Man. He does it with Star-Lord. Like every other powerful man that he comes in contact with, he has to have this little verbal sparring match. Those people are not interested in that. They're trying to save the frickin' universe.
Yeah.
He just has to be the number one guy, the smartest, the wittiest, the whateverest. So for me, Iron Man, and he wasn't the only one because Star-Lord and Thor also had their little thing.
Hold on.
But hang on. In Star-Lord and Thor's case, it does fit.
What? Okay.
Because Star-Lord sees Thor as like a competition for someone that he loves, which I feel like works in the context of the movie, which is about protecting the people that you love. Mm-hmm. In Iron Man's case, there is no such reasoning other than he feels like he has to be the top man. That's it. There's no actual emotion involved. And so that's why I felt like Star-Lord poking at Thor fit and worked in this movie, where basically every time Iron Man opens his mouth, I feel like it doesn't work. It doesn't fit here. So, now, take it down.
Okay, first we have to talk about that scene, because it's so funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I loved that scene.
This is not a dude. You're a dude.
Yeah.
This is a man.
He's like an angel.
And a pirate had a baby.
Yeah, that scene was fantastic.
Peter, you're one sandwich away from being fat. All right, it's a wake-up call. I got a Bowflex. Why are you talking like this? Is my voice.
This is my normal voice. Yeah, that was great because it had a place. Like it fit there.
Yeah.
So defend Iron Man.
Here's the
interesting.
Thing. I guess if you go back to episode Age of Ultron, we kind of talked about what I'll be saying. It's just, this is how Tony is. I don't see him as trying to be the top guy. I just see him as that's how he talks and communicates. I think it's how he deals with the stress of this scene. A wizard came through a portal because he needs to talk to me about saving the world. He's just gonna make quips. That's just how he's assessing the situation. Because he does sit down, he's like, tell me his name again. Like Thanos. So he's listening. He's paying attention. He's trying to figure out what to do. He tries to send Spider-Man home. He's trying to be the responsible person.
Sure.
And Spider-Man doesn't listen and stuff.
Sure.
I guess I just see it as that's how he talks, like a normal conversation. I mean, he is arrogant, but I don't see it in these conversations.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I guess agree to disagree.
I know.
I get that he has no other coping mechanism for any strong emotion other than quipping.
Even like,
and that's a fair point.
He calls Pepper. He says, I think we're going to have to push our 8:30.
Right.
It's just that's how he talks to everyone.
Okay, so I understand he's like an emotionally stunted person. But it just, like, he felt like he had little man syndrome to me every time he came across any other powerful male. To me, I was just like, will you just shut up and allow the power of this movie to be? But he wouldn't. He just kept talking.
I know. I wonder I don't know how other people would think that, because I think most people are like, this is a big reason why I like this movie.
It's because of his random...
Of Tony being Tony, interacting with other people now.
I mean, I understand that. I get that. Just for me, because of the weight of the rest of the movie, like, he's the only one that's doing it. Everyone else in the movie, I feel like, is having a correct emotional response to what is going on, except for him. Mm-hmm. And maybe that just illustrates him, that he just is incapable of having like what we would consider normal human emotions. Maybe that's just him. And if that's true, then they did a magnificent job illustrating that. But for me, it took away from the power of the movie.
I don't know. Why is Peter then allowed to be like, don't call us plucky. We don't know what it means. That's
the other end of the spectrum. Is it not?
I guess.
Because Peter Quill's, like, he's such an interesting character because he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
But he also occasionally does awesome things. And so for him, I think it works because... I don't know. That's a good question that I'm not sure I have an answer to. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. I'll have to think about it.
Thank you, Dr. Dietz.
So the general unclearness, I guess, is where we'll go.
Yeah, do the first one, because I think we'll have a lot to talk about. What you call plot holes or something.
Well, these aren't not necessarily plot holes. They're just, So I get the MacGuffin of the stones.
Yeah.
But they're the size of my thumbnail.
Okay.
And they have all the power of the universe in them.
Uh-huh.
Why? Like, it doesn't... Like, so it's just, to me, it's an instance of, we need this to happen. We don't know how or why or whatever. We're just going to say that it does that. And we're not going to provide any actual reason or explanation or satisfying, criteria. It just is. And I get that we need that. But the stones just don't... Anyhow.
Well, that's why they're great MacGuffin examples, because ultimately they don't matter to us at all.
Right. But it just doesn't make sense.
I guess, I don't know. I don't know why they would need an explanation.
And that's fair. And they wouldn't need one in, like, if this was a straight fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they would need an explanation.
Okay, what's the difference?
Because this has got so many other genres meeting that need to play together well.
Yeah.
If this was like a noir, for example, you would not be able to get away with it. Just is. It just does that. If this was a straight science fiction, you cannot do that in science fiction.
I don't know.
And so to me, it's just kind of an uneasy, it's not really a negative for me. It's just like an uneasy marriage of a lot of different genres. And I love the fact that there are a lot of different genres here. Don't get me wrong. And it's the same thing with the actual, what is it? It's Gauntlet.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
It's the same thing with the Gauntlet, and it's the same thing with the Hammer. They just like why that forge does that, and it's fine. It's okay. This is not the one I have the biggest issue with.
Okay, good, because I feel like every science fiction has stuff like this.
Science fiction does not.
Yes, it does.
Fantasy does.
Name a science fiction movie.
Any science fiction
name a movie.
Alien.
Where'd the aliens come from? They're just
but
there.
they make sense.
Okay.
It makes sense that they were born somewhere, and they grew up and they had little mama and papa aliens.
Well, you could argue it makes sense. I don't know.
So the only explanation we have is the universe pooped them out.
Yeah. It's just, when the Big Bang happened, there are just these 6 powers that also got created.
Dumb.
I don't know why we would.
Okay. Let me shift it. Iron Man. Why does Iron Man's suit do the stuff that it does?
Because he built it.
Because he built it. It makes sense.
Right.
Spider-Man. Why does he have the powers? Because this radioactive spider bit him and somehow changed the molecules. That makes sense.
Okay.
Captain America has injected crap. Hulk has he was okay, right? The Infinity Stones. Crickets. We don't know. But whatever. Okay. It just doesn't mesh with the other genres that they're bringing in. That's it.
I know. What's frustrating about that is that just doesn't even matter to me a little bit.
Well, it doesn't really matter to me either, except that it's a component of the bigger thing that doesn't make sense, which is Thanos. I don't understand several things about Thanos.
Right.
One, first off, is his motivation. What? Like, they gave us the story of, his planet had limited resources. He said, let's kill off half and whatever. Okay, how does that translate to, I need to kill half of all the living things in the universe? There's no motivation for what he's doing.
I mean, his planet ran out of food and people were starving. And he saw his planet, crash and burn. So he just kind of takes it upon himself. And I think, I don't know if we need anything more than that. It's like, because Gamora even says, this universe has finite resources. It will run out of things.
That's not true.
But Gamora says that. It's like, you don't know that. And he's like, I'm the only one who knows that. Or at least the only one willing to act on it. I don't know. I mean, I guess sometimes I think, 100 years ago, there was 2 billion people on this planet. And now we're 8 billion plus. So I guess sometimes it's tempting to think like that. Like, can Earth survive this many people for how long? Like, how much damage can we do to our planet?
Well, but, I mean, if we're going to bring it to Earth, historically, Earth, if we're going to anthropomorphize Earth corrects itself. Like, we have these periodic, worldwide, quote-unquote, corrections of human pop, like the Black Plague, for example. Mm-hmm. We have these. So, I mean, if the Mother Earth or whatever, the universe takes care of that. It seems to.
Would you be willing just to accept, Thanos just thinks that this is the only way? And
for what?
To make sure make sure everyone has food. He thinks...
if...
He's not right.
He's not even... So, okay. So, if he gets all the stones, he got his glove, and he goes just on a universe tour, and he's just like, look at this planet. They appear to be, managing the resources well. I'm going to leave them alone. Look at this planet. I guess that would make sense to me. But anyhow,
I don't know.
But I'm not. It's not even the philosophy of Thanos. I don't understand why he's doing it. His planet already is done.
Yeah, that's me.
So is he just pissed off and feels like everyone else should suffer also?
No, he's
like the misery that he causes by eliminating half of every living thing in the universe far exceeds whatever misery might have happened if some of the planets inhabited in the universe mismanaged their resources. Like, it makes no sense to me that he thinks that, like in my family, for example.
Yeah,
if he snaps his fingers and half my family is gone because somebody thought that maybe in the future at some point they might be hungry, that's like, I don't have a strong enough word for how stupid that is. And why would he think that he would be a qualified individual to make that happen?
So
that makes no sense to me.
I don't know why he thinks he's qualified, but he definitely thinks he's doing a good thing. Like we already mentioned, like, he sees everyone as his children. He has this literal God complex.
Yes.
He's like, I am doing this for you. Like, and one day you will see that. It's warped. He just thinks that they will revere him, you know? Like, that's why he calls people children. His followers refer to them as the children of Thanos. They even say, even in death, you are the children of Thanos or something.
Yeah. So, general unclearness. The motivation behind it, his reasoning for it, that as a whole, for me, was a big problem in this movie.
And that's like a lot of the movie.
Well, it is, right. It's the driving force of the movie. So for me, at its core, taking away or like setting aside all of the emotional power of this movie, at its core, this is a flawed movie. Because the main character, which you said is Thanos, doesn't have he's a motivationless character, or maybe not less, but very, very obscure motivation. And if we know anything about film, we know that characters are driven by motivation.
Right.
Motivationless characters are not interesting. They don't carry movies.
I know.
And so there's enough other motivations going on in this movie that I feel like it still works as a movie. But since the core of it it's intangible, it's not understandable, it's not graspable, I feel like that kind of, for me anyway, probably only me in the planet, but for me, it undermined everything else. So
yeah, I do think you are in the minority there.
I'm used to that.
I think a lot of people, including myself, thinks it does work. But
and that's fine.
I know. For me, it's enough. It's just not enough.
Just that he wants to do it, that's enough.
Yeah, he's the Mad Titan. Like I already said, he's not right. He's trying to do what he thinks is right. He just doesn't see any other way.
Okay.
Well?
Yeah. Off mic, we talked about if they knew that this was coming, why didn't they destroy the stones 2 decades ago?
Okay.
And you said they didn't know it was coming.
Yeah. Who do you think? Who's supposedly?
I have no idea. I don't know. But in the context of this movie, in the time frame of this movie, they did know.
Okay. Yeah.
So there are 2 characters that did know. Doctor Strange knew.
Yes.
Well, 3, I guess. Vision and Scarlet Witch knew.
Yeah.
So their choice to not destroy the stone immediately makes no sense to me. Because they know if they don't destroy this stone, they know that half the universe is going to disappear. Mm-hmm. Why would they not destroy the stone?
Okay.
I mean, that's the general thing. I have specific things within the general, but
okay. Vision is aware. And doesn't he like literally say, let's destroy this right now?
Yes.
Okay. So
this is going to bleed into asinine decisions.
Right.
But go ahead.
But literally, I mean, they were like, we can't do that without killing you.
Sure.
And this whole thing comes up with Captain America. It's like, we don't trade lives. You're right. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense when it's someone you love.
Right.
Okay. And they, like, that's the whole thing. Like, let's get it out so I can destroy it.
Right.
Which is what happens. Or,
Kind of.
Oh, kind of.
I get that.
They don't get it out, and then Vision like convinces Wanda to do it anyways.
Right.
Then Wanda literally has to see Vision die 2 times in a row, and it's so horrifying when you think about it.
Yes, I
right.
get all of that.
So
so I want to respond to what you just said.
Please do.
The Avengers, what is their purpose?
To defend the world.
Okay. So, if that is their purpose, they have no business not destroying Vision.
Okay.
There is no way they cannot immediately destroy Vision. Because if their purpose is to defend Earth, they know Thanos is coming. They know that he has to have that stone that's in Vision's head in order to do what he's doing. They can't not destroy Vision. Is it heartrending? Absolutely. Is it painful? Absolutely. Is it a sacrifice? Absolutely. They can't not destroy him.
They think they can get it out and then destroy it.
I understand but
they don't want to kill their friend.
Great.
Wanda doesn't want to kill the man that
then
she loves.
Ethically, the Avengers are bankrupt.
No, they are not.
They are ethically bankrupt. They are
No.
because that one person is more important to them than literally trillions of other lives in the universe.
Lives haven't been lost yet. They're trying to race against the clock.
They have this one opportunity to stop it.
Okay.
They do not take it because they value one person's life over the trillions of lives. The Avengers need to disband, and they need to stop touting themselves as the protectors of the planet, because they don't care.
They do care.
They care about their little cadre of people.
Yeah.
And that's it.
No.
Therefore, they are not the Avengers. They are not the protectors of the planet.
It's just the answer is killing someone you do love.
They are not trying to protect everyone.
All right, hold on. Okay, I am going to quote something that I'm going to cite my sources. It comes from a Wisecrack video.
Do it.
Okay. So, this idea of sacrificing a loved one. It's not just Vision. It happens 3 times.
Yes. I imagine those are my 3 asinine decisions that we're going to talk about. But go ahead.
I wanted to hear all your negatives first, but we'll just throw it here, and then we'll see how I can defend after that. Obviously, Wanda and Vision are put in this situation where you sacrifice me to save everyone.
Yes.
And she does.
No.
At the end, she does. And then Thanos uses magic to reverse time. Which is a pre-established power, might I add.
But by that time, it's not feasible at that point.
Yeah, and that's why it's tragic.
That's why the Avengers cannot...
Calm down.
This movie, I have rarely watched a movie that I felt the weight of so much as I did this movie. And so these things that they do feel like they are cheap plot devices. Like, we need to figure out how to get Thanos these stones. And so they make decisions that any thinking person would never have made.
Okay, hold on.
Especially if you are the Avengers, whose job is to protect the planet.
So I want to come back to Doctor Strange 2, but I kind of want to hear, what are these other choices that... Are they in the same vein, or are they vastly?
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Okay. Tell me them, then I'll say my thing.
So Doctor Strange, the worst one in the film is Doctor Strange giving the green stone in exchange for Iron Man's life.
That's strange.
I don't have, I'm out of words.
Okay.
For how stupid that is.
All right, I'll come back to it.
It makes no sense.
I'll come back to it.
Okay, Gamora telling Thanos, oh, here's the other stone. No, because Gamora of all people should never have told him that. Gamora knows him better than anyone else in the universe.
Okay.
She has no business telling him where that stone is. Regardless of who's suffering, That made no sense at all. And then, the obvious one that everyone hopefully thinks is stupid is Peter Quill punching Thanos while they almost have the glove off. Those are the 4 choices that this movie hinges on, none of which make any sense in the context of the characters themselves. They don't make sense in the context of the weight of the rest of the movie. They don't make sense in the context of the groups that they're involved in. So the wizards, his choice makes no sense. Like literally the entire purpose of that group of people is to keep that stone safe.
Yes. All right. I remember feeling those things back when I saw this movie.
Okay, good. So we take Thanos, his nebulous motivations that I feel like undermine the foundation of this film.
Okay, and that is a hurdle we have to.
And then we have these 4 key crucial moments in this film, any one of which, if those people had made the logical or intelligent or even character true choice, this film would have been completely different. And so from those 2 standpoints, I feel like this is a deeply flawed movie.
Okay. Let me address these, okay? I am fully aware you might not change your mind at all. That's what I'm talking about.
That's fine. Yeah, let's chat.
And I know
I feel like I've expended my anger
the
because I wanted
the vibes a little bit better now.
Because I genuinely wanted this film to be
as good as I think
the great jewel in the crown of the MCU.
Okay, so because you already know what I'm going to say for Star-Lord, because we already talked about it a little bit. Because I think, if anything, Guardians 2 sets up that one moment.
It does.
And there are people who are still upset about that. Like, there are people who will not want to
look at the context.
Look into context at all. And it upsets people, and that's just how it is. Because they needed a excuse to not end the movie.
Yes.
And yes, you can start thinking about, are there other options I could do? Yes, but that's not what happened in the movie.
But okay.
But what I'm trying to say is, in case our audience doesn't remember, when Star-Lord, he's a celestial or whatever.
Sure.
He's going to be a god like his dad,
sure.
Kurt Russell, and like Kurt Russell mentions, he killed his mom. Without hesitation, just reacts. He just reacts without thinking.
Right.
That's what he does. And he's in love with Gamora. And he's like, Gamora's dead. He doesn't even think about it.
Right.
Punches him in the face. So there's not going to be a satisfying answer.
No. And actually, I said earlier that it doesn't make, none of those 4 make sense in the context of the character. I have to take that back for Star-Lord. Mm-hmm. You're right. So if that was the only one of these, I feel like we could give it a pass.
I might tell you something that might ruin it even further, but in the fight with Doctor Strange and Iron Man and Spider-Man in New York City, you see this thing where Wong does the portal and cuts off the guy's hand.
Yes.
Multiple people are like, why didn't they just do that to Thanos' hand?
Sure.
They just did it. That's the answer, It's just, that's not
what
happens.
But I don't think that he cut off his hand on purpose. I think that was an accident, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was an accident. I think he's just like, we got to get rid of this guy. He falls, and then like, okay, we're done with that portal, and the guy happened to be
Look at you,
jumping.
Like not grabbing a low-hanging fruit of...
I'm not just this bitter sourpuss guy.
No, you're the most lovable sourpuss.
I'm not just...
Donald.
Hi, Donald. I'm not just looking for reasons to hate these movies.
Okay, so let me get back to what I was saying a little bit earlier.
Okay.
There are 3 instances where someone is asked to sacrifice someone. There's obviously Thanos and Gamora.
Right.
And he does sacrifice. There's Gamora and Peter Quill. And he tries to sacrifice Gamora. He recognizes...
Shoots bubbles at her.
He recognizes this does need to happen for the universe. And then there's Wanda and Vision.
Which is the failure.
The failure, because we just talked about for 20
Yes.
minutes. I don't think it's ignoring the planet and the lives of everyone in the universe, but
How is it not?
Captain America's thing in this movie is we don't trade lives. And
That's a throwaway line that he says right near the end. I don't feel like that's a guiding.
okay, it's like, so let's take a couple steps back. Why are all of our characters doing what they do? We already mentioned Iron Man. He's always wanted to protect the world. He has taken it upon himself. It's his duty. He's got the means and the tools to try his best.
So why didn't he blow up the Green Stone?
Iron Man? Because it was safe in Doctor Strange's hands, apparently.
So why didn't they hey, the best way to do this is not to take the stone to him, but let's destroy the stone so he can't have it.
I'm glad you asked. So Doctor Strange, he literally tells Iron Man, I am willing to let you die. I'm willing to let Peter Parker die for this stone. But then by the end, he has changed where he's like... listener, he's making lots of faces and looking at the ground. He lets this stone go to save Iron Man. Okay? All right. We're putting puzzle pieces in. We're forming a big picture here, okay?
Yes, I'm trying to be quiet.
I know. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
We have Thor even. Thor's driving force, it's maybe less connected, but it's fate. He says, fate has deemed it so. Again, that maybe not the least important out of all these main characters, probably.
Sure.
And then Iron Man. We need to do this to protect our people. We're not going to kill you because that means we killed you. Someone died. All right. Just keep that in mind while I read out words I wrote down.
Okay.
So there's utilitarian consequentialism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It defies actions as ethical if outcome helps the most people.
Yes.
Utilitarianism. Let's kill you to save everyone else.
Yes.
It's the trolley problem. This whole movie is the trolley problem.
Yes.
It's trolley problem, the movie.
Yes.
And for the record, that I'm citing a source now. And then there's deontology. No outcome can justify heinous things like murder.
Correct.
And that's where Captain America's getting stuck on.
That's where everyone gets stuck on.
Right.
Except for Thanos.
I'm not going to be able to satisfy any qualms you have with this movie. But it is...
Logical flaws, I think.
It is an answer to why they don't kill Vision.
Okay. I understand that.
I know. You know all of these things.
No. That's not what I meant. I understand why they're not doing it. Deontology versus utilitarianism.
Right.
Yes, 100%. Yes. The problem...
What is the problem?
These groups of people are sworn to utilitarianism. It's a part of their core reason for existing. The Avengers are about, we are always going to do what will benefit the most people, which in their case is Earth. Right?
Yes.
They are utilitarian. Right. In their ethics.
In theory,
in their credo, in their whatever. Their driving force is, we need to protect as many people as we possibly can. Iron Man, I need to protect the world. So then, when we have this one person that they happen to know and they happen to like, all of that goes away.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that means the Avengers cease to be the Avengers.
No, because they need to be the Avengers together.
Okay, if that stone was stuck in the head of random citizen in Egypt, would they have pulled it out?
You're right. They probably wouldn't, but...
No, they would have pulled it out.
That's what I meant. They would have pulled it out.
And so the Avengers are a fraud.
But they're kind of family now.
But that cannot matter.
But it's a loved one at this point.
That cannot matter.
Okay, but they think they can do it.
All of everything the Avengers stand for crumbles around Vision. And if they don't continue to crumble in the following movies, then I'm probably going to be done with the MCU.
Well, the end's in sight a little bit. I guess it's, the extreme example is, what if it was someone in your family in the same situation.
Trillions of people.
Right.
And I know for a fact that the death of this one person that I love will save trillions of lives. I don't see the choice. There's no choice there.
To me, there still is.
I adore my family.
Right. I'm not saying...
I love my family. But
Exactly.
if I knew for a fact...
But...
There's no choice there.
Dr. Dietz.
And I'm not an Avenger.
Okay, but Dr. Dietz, you're acting like there is an answer to the trolley problem.
There is.
No.
If your credo is the Avengers credo, we protect the planet. There's no choice here. Vision has to die.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. All right. Maybe not.
Same thing with the wizard thing.
Okay, so let's talk about that, and then
Okay.
I was so confused about that. Why would he do that?
There's
it was
no
hidden
reason.
in the sky. But
No reason.
There is
No.
one
Okay,
reason.
I'll shut up.
In fact, you can say there might have been 14 million reasons. Why not? Here's the thing. It doesn't make sense, and it
Correct.
leads to Thanos winning, but we were told. The movie tells us. It looks us in the eyes.
And says what?
And says, I looked at 14 million ways how we could approach this, and we only win one of these. So you just have to assume, with the context, it tells us that this is part of that one way to win.
Okay.
That's the only way I can explain that.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's the only... I was frustrated at first, but that you just have to assume that's what he meant. Because I remember why did he do that? That doesn't make any... that didn't make any sense. That's, I guess, my only answer for you.
That is a fantastic answer. I retract my objection to Doctor Strange. I had not thought of that. That is probably the explanation.
That's the only thing that I have. Because you're right, it wouldn't make sense.
That makes sense.
He didn't bond with Tony
Right.
in space. They're not best friends.
Right. Him giving that up for Tony makes no sense at all.
Right.
But,
It doesn't.
but that makes sense.
Okay.
I agree.
Not that I feel like I accomplished something, but okay.
That makes sense.
I do have something else for you, though. Okay. And I'm heavily quoting another video essay called Shut Up About Plot Holes. Okay, so...
I feel this is directed at me.
No, to everyone. Okay, how do you define a plot hole, I suppose?
How do I define a plot hole?
Yeah, because
it doesn't make sense in the context of the structure the movie has set up.
Okay, yes, it breaks its own rules. It contradicts itself. Perfect. I'm going to summarize this video. I know other internet people could be mad at this video. It's by Patrick Willems. It's pretty good. Movies don't need to show us every single step. Something's going to happen off screen, sure. The main thing, though, he says, is that movies are about human beings. Humans are not logical, and people make mistakes. A plot contrivance is not a plot hole. A plot contrivance is something that causes things to happen in a story in a way that does not seem natural or believable. So that's just a plot contrivance.
Okay.
So the bottom line is you will find holes in your movies. You will find holes if you dig deep enough in any movie. So, for example, some famous ones. Why does Buzz act like a toy when he doesn't think he's a toy? What's going on there? Why did they just take the Eagles to Mount Doom in Lord of the Rings? How in Ocean's 11, how did they get the flyers in the vault? How come Cinderella's shoe doesn't disappear when everything else disappears? Why even need a trash compactor on the Death Star? Just shoot trash out in space. Why didn't Voldemort make any item a port key? Why did it have to be the trophy in the middle of the maze at the end of the... Why couldn't it be easier, Because those things don't matter. That is not what movies are about. You already mentioned this. Those complaints are rooted in logic. And that's a word you have thrown around a few times these episodes. Movies are not about being logical. Movies are not a math equation. They're not a puzzle. They do not need proofs.
I don't agree with anything you just said in that last sentence.
Sure. If characters only act logically, they'd be Captain Spock's from Star Trek. And they wouldn't have emotion. They would do the smartest thing, and there would be no movie. No one would grow, and there would be no story. What we need to do is we got to think critically about the things that do matter. Mm-hmm. What's funny is when he made that video, Quiet Place just came out, and recently on Twitter, people are complaining about Quiet Place again. It's like the clip at the beginning of the movie where the kid dies. People are like, why did they let the kid have this toy? Why is he in the back behind everyone? But because what do you mean? This is a child being a child. The girl thinks she made this mistake, and she has if everything was logical, it wouldn't feel like a movie. You're right. People are going to make dumb choices. People aren't going to make decisions that you think they should make. And I don't think it's fair just to say the movie did something I wouldn't have done and therefore bad. So, okay. So let's back up a little bit. I'm going to read you some things that you like.
Okay.
That are good. I also like these things. We need to think critically about movies. That's what this podcast is about. Let me read you something from that textbook from the other episode. This book actually talks a lot about like preparing for movies or thinking about movies, even like realizing where you are when you watch the movie, if you're in the right environment, mindset stuff. But analysis can make our love for movies stronger.
I agree.
More real, more enduring.
I agree.
Analytical approach is essential to the art of watching film, for it enables us to see and understand how each part functions and contributes its vital energy to the pulsing dynamic whole. So yeah, we need to think critically about our films. Analysis helps us lock an experience in our minds so that we may savor it in memory.
Yeah.
By looking at a film analytically, we engage ourselves with it intellectually and creatively, and thus make it more truly our own. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I agree with that.
If you think critically, the movie can mean more to you.
Yeah.
But here's a little section that I wanted to read to you.
Okay.
Be aware of personal biases.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most difficult prejudices to overcome is that which leads us to dismiss certain categories of films, like action movies. I heard you in the class across the hall today talking to your students about how you hate action movies.
I do.
Although it is natural to prefer some types of movies over others, most of us can appreciate or enjoy aspects of almost any film. We should keep in mind that not all films will fit our preconceived notions.
True.
We would lose a memorable film experience, for films are more than simple formula pieces. These guys wrote a book, okay?
I agree with that guy.
Last part.
Mm-hmm.
Also, narrow in their overlook are film goers who have inexplicable preconceptions about what movies are supposed to be. This type of categorical rejection may be illustrated by two extreme examples. One side of the spectrum are film goers who say, I just want to be entertained. That's what we're fighting against.
Yes, that is.
And are offended by a film that is grim and depressing. At the other end are viewers equally limited in their outlook, who expect every film to make a profound artistic statement about the human condition, and who are disappointed when a film is not grim and depressing. Closely related are those who set up their own criteria for what makes a good film and reject movies that operate under different rules. So what I'm trying to say is you're nitpicky and biased, and therefore you're wrong. I'm just joking.
That's fair.
That last part is a joke, because I agree that thinking critically will make any movie better.
Yeah.
But I am also aware you might not like superhero in action. And like the reason for our podcast, you might not like big blockbuster movies that you didn't think were worth your time.
It's true.
That's all I have.
That was the salvo. It was a good salvo.
I don't even know what that means.
Like the bombing of, like the storming of Normandy Beach. That was it.
Yes, I'm out of notes. I'm
no,
out
it
of
was good.
Secret
that was a good.
books.
That was a good storm. I admit that at the start of this podcast, what you were describing in one of those people was me. Just blindly rejecting all superhero movies and by extension action movies because I felt like they were all the same. I felt like they had no redeeming value because they were dumb, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that was, what, a year ago? When did we start doing this?
Almost a year ago.
Yeah, almost a year ago. I feel like I have grown significantly since that version of me.
Yeah.
As evidence, we can offer last week's first part of this movie analysis.
Right.
And so I don't feel like I'm just blindly seeking to discredit these movies anymore. I admit that I was at the beginning. So I've grown as a person.
Yeah.
I totally agree with the first part that you read.
Yeah.
I feel like anyone who uses the tools that we're providing will have a richer experience in any movie they're watching.
Yeah.
To respond to the plot hole guy.
Oh yeah.
Like his argument is valid to a point, and then he goes beyond that point.
Yeah.
So he's conflating logic with being logical. Being logical or illogical is necessary in film. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. If films did not have people being illogical in them, we would only have one film, right?
Yeah.
Like being human drives film. And so I agree with that part of it. Mm-hmm. Where I disagree is him equating that to logic. Those are not the same thing. Logic, at least what I am responding to in these films, is things that are not true to either the character or the rules of the film or the guiding principles behind it. For example, the Avengers abandoning their utilitarian roots for one person is not logical. It violates everything that has been set up in all of the other Avengers movies.
Yeah.
The same thing with Gamora telling Thanos where the other stone is.
Oh, right.
In the context of who Gamora is, in the context of what she knows, in the context of her hatred for her father, in the context of everything that we know about Gamora, that choice does not make sense. It is not logical. And therefore, from my perspective, that is a sinkhole for this movie. Up until 30 minutes ago, I thought the same thing was true of Doctor Strange. But you showed me how, in the context of his character and in the context of what the wizards are doing, that does make sense. And so I retracted that. I'm sticking with Gamora telling Thanos makes absolutely no sense.
But I guess Nebula was being tortured in front of her face.
But of all the characters in the entire MCU,
you're right.
She is the one person that knows without a doubt what's going to happen.
Right.
That does not. Anyhow, I feel like we've both made our points. Yeah. I've agreed with some of yours. You won't agree with mine because you're blindly emotional. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Yeah. So I agree with all of what you read and said, except for when that guy tries to take his argument further than his argument will support.
You will find on YouTube multiple like hour-long videos like fighting against that one video that I was quoting.
Yeah. It's because he's trying to go further than he can with the argument that he's making.
That's fair.
Yeah. Again, a very powerful film.
Right.
That because of flawed underpinnings, I feel like falls significantly short of what it could have been. You disagree? I'm fine with that.
I know, but I have to admit a lot of it is built up from a 10-year buildup of the satisfying, like how satisfying it was to see these people.
Right. It is very emotionally satisfying.
Right.
But if we are going to stay true to what this podcast supposedly espouses, critical thinking, I feel like we have to recognize the rather significant flaws.
That's fair. In
this movie. Even though I wanted it to be awesome, even though you feel it was awesome.
I know, I still do.
I cannot say that I didn't enjoy watching this movie. I felt this movie.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I just remembered? I remember this when this movie came out, like on streaming or whatever. We watched it with my father-in-law. He was just sad after it. Like, he didn't even want to be talked to.
Wow.
It left him in such a state that he needed to go be by himself.
Wow.
It got to him.
Yeah. I mean, it got to me, even though I don't necessarily care a whole lot.
Yeah.
This film was immensely successful in creating emotion. Mm-hmm. I feel like there are parts of it that are manipulative in terms of how it uses the audience's emotional connections to different characters. But you're probably right that all movies do that to some extent. This is another example, like Black Panther, of a movie that I feel like could have been a perfect movie.
I wonder if it was like 3 hours long, would it be able to satisfy?
For me, no, because like I said, at its foundation, I feel like it's a flawed movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like those key moments. So you've talked me out of 2 of the 4.
I mean,
which is really cool.
So emotional wise, I said a while ago, like it'd make more sense for Ragnarok to be next because it directly ties in, but it'd be weird to go Black Panther, Ragnarok, this movie.
Yeah,
a little bit jarring, but
yeah.
But Ant-Man and the Wasp,
cool,
and then Captain Marvel, which is a new character we haven't even seen.
Yeah, I don't know anything about either of those.
And then Endgame.
Okay.
And then technically Spider-Man Far From Home is the end of Phase 3, which everything there is called the Infinity Saga. Phase 4 is considered a different saga. Take that as you will.
Okay.
So, hey, thanks for listening.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for thinking critically, for going on this journey with us. Yeah, thanks for being interested in deepening your appreciation of your films, but also in recognizing how those films are shaping how you view the world.
Yeah.
And kind of defending yourself against that. Thanks for listening. We love you.
We love you.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.